Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video for honeybee stamps. Today I'm going to be using the Let's Hang Out stamp set, the Sweet Sunflowers, which I totally love. You know how I love me some flowers. And then the Slimline, I think it's the Scene Borders, and then the Autumn stamp set. So I wanted to do a Slimline card. They are super popular right now. I have only made just a couple of them. And so I really wanted to use these borders because I was thinking of a way that I could make a scene with the flowers that I thought would be really fun. So I'm just trimming off some Eclipse masking paper, and because the Slimline size is almost the same exact length as my regular, like my original Misty, I do have the super big scrapbooking one, but I haven't used it. And not everybody does, so I wanted to, I'm gonna old school stamp it. So here you can see I'm just stamping it down on my masking paper. Now, there's nothing underneath this except for my pad, so you can see it didn't stamp super even. When I stamp it on the card, though, I'm gonna get smart, and I'm gonna get my little foam pad from my Misty. So that way I have like a firm, even stamping surface to go ahead and stamp this on, because it does overhang the card, and that's why I could not use my Misty for this particular stamp. There's a little flower in the Let's Hang Out set, and then there's these huge sunflowers in the Sweet Sunflower set, and I thought it would be fun to kind of do a slimline, lesson in perspective. We've talked about that before, where anything that is bigger appears to be closer to you and anything is smaller is further away. So I wanted to kind of create that same look. So I'm going to stamp 2 of the large sunflowers really close up, and then I'm going to stamp 4, 5, 6 in the background, so that they look further away and smaller. So now that I have that one that I stamped off the edge completed, I can go ahead and use my Misty for the rest of my stamping. I am standing up and getting really good pressure. These are super detailed stamps, which are beautiful and I love. No complaints here. But that just means that in order to get a really good impression, you have to make sure that you have good pressure. So as I'm stamping, I'm masking because it is going to be a 1-layer card. You all know how I roll around here. I just love me the 1-layer cards. And so once I have those stamped and masked, I am going to do the smaller sunflowers in the back. I'm going to do the leaves. That's important. I'm going to do the leaves. I can't just have these sunflowers out here with no leaves, right? But then I'm going to do the smaller sunflowers. So it has been a minute since I made a video. I had some people who were messaging me on Instagram and were like, did you quit card making? I have not quit card making. I will probably never quit card making, because long before I was doing it on YouTube and sharing it with you wonderful people, I was doing it in my bedroom at my parents' house when nobody saw it but me. Here I'm just going to draw in a little stem so that my one sunflower looks as though it is taller than the other. So I'm just going to sketch it with pencil first, and then I'm going to outline it with a Copic Safe pen. I use the EK Success journaling pens because I happen to have them, but they have been discontinued. So a Copic multi-liner or a Micron pen is a good substitute for that. So yeah, no worries. I will not be quitting card making. Are my cards probably more infrequent now, or the videos? Yeah, probably, just because I kind of have a lot going on, and then switching jobs really kind of changed things for me, working night shift, because I would typically do my card making at night, and now I'm working at night. So here I set out my little dies and I taped them down, and then I pulled my masking paper off of my card and they all fell off. So much for planning. But so I am going to cut them out of this masking paper. If you're not comfortable cutting them out, because it is very thin, you could certainly trace them and then fussy cut them out. That would work as well. But I am going to just run this through my die cutting machine. And then I realized that I do need to stamp those smaller ones before I do any sort of inking in the background. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp these I did cut masks for the flower heads as well as the leaves, but the leaves is really only for the stamping so that I could stamp other flowers behind, and that there wouldn't be any like sort of issue with that. But I'm going to leave those masks off when I do my inking because it's not going to matter. I'm coloring them green and I'll be inking green over them. So it's really like no big thing. So yeah, so I will not be quitting card making. What else have we been, like, we've just been, busy doing like projects around the house and spending time together. And like I said, that night shift is cutting into my card making time. But somebody asked me today on Instagram, they're like, do you ever sit still? Like, I'm exhausted watching your Instagram stories. And the answer is pretty much no. Well, it's not true. When I had Peanut, all those many years ago, something had to go out of my schedule. Something had to be cut out because I just didn't have time to do all of the things and be the type of mom I wanted to be. So for me, and this is no judgment, this is no expectation on anybody else to do these things, but for me, what went was television. That's what went. And I really don't miss it. Not that I never watch TV. Quick side note, back to the card. So here, I only really need the masking on the right-hand side because the flowers take up so much of the left-hand side. So I decided, just so that it would look like the clouds continued, I just inked over the leaf portion and then I just a little bit underneath it so that I still left that white border. And even though it doesn't have a super sharp edge, it still makes sense in the card. And then once I have the Salty Ocean on, then I'm just going to add a little bit of shading with the blueprint sketch. And that was pretty much all I did for the sky. And I always go over it twice just because I feel like that gives me better color and better coverage. So yeah, for me, it was TV, movies, like those things. If I want to sit and do nothing per se, I will read a book. That I would prefer to read than to watch television. And that's just, like I said, me personally. I do watch some shows. Like when Eric and I are spending time together, we have a couple of shows that we will watch together. Like Outlander we watch together. This Is Us we watch together. And so that's time that we're spending together. Sometimes when I'm doing that, I will edit a video or I will link product. But that is also, like, even though I'm there and I'm present, sometimes that is very consuming of my attention. And so I don't really feel like I'm present. So I don't always do that. And again, that just cuts into the amount of time I have to produce videos. So once I did the speckled egg, which is like amazing, beautiful color, beautiful color. Good job, Tim Holtz. Like we had any doubt, right? I'm going to mask off those clouds and then I am going to do my greens. One thing to know, and you'll see later on right here, like I tried to tape it with my little purple tape. That didn't work. And so I kept pulling up the like secondary mask I had going on there. And so I'm going to cut it off and then eventually I added sketch tape, but I'm going to add sketch tape to the other masks as well to tape them to each other as I move down because Eclipse masking paper is the bomb diggity. Like I love it. It's my favorite masking paper, but it does have a little bit of trouble sticking to an area on your paper that is freshly distressed ink and is still kind of wet. It does have a hard time sticking to that. So typically I will just tape it to another mask or tape it to my surface so that it isn't on my card at all, like as far as the background. Yeah, so we do, you know what I mean? It's just those are things that cut into card making and I have to make a decision about them. Not that I don't still love card making or I don't still love making videos or connecting with you guys or sharing with you guys. I do. I still love all of those things. And I am very grateful that you're, hanging in there with me. Speaking of being very grateful that you're hanging in there with me, I did not know this. Amy from Prairie Paper Ink, who, if you're not following her, please go do. She's amazing. Had mentioned something about how YouTube had changed the way that this was quite some time ago, and I just kept forgetting to bring it up because we had the wedding and all that jazz. She had mentioned that YouTube changed their settings when you're uploading a video, and now it's putting ads in the middle of the video, which it never used to before. So once I learned that from her, when I was hip to it, I did change that, which each of my videos, but I cannot change it when I first am uploading it. I have to go back in and change it. So sometimes I don't get to it right away, but just so you're aware, my intention is to make sure that they're only at the beginning or the end, not directly in the middle, because that's aggravating. I don't like watching videos like that. I don't expect you to want to watch them. And just if you could just kind of share with me, because I have noticed in the last probably, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, like the views are down significantly. And I don't know why that is. So if there is something that you would change about the channel or recommend about the channel, or, what have you, like, please let me know. Please, I'm open to constructive criticism. I feel like, if you've been watching my channel, then that's pretty much well known that I'm willing to hear you out and address it if it's something that I have control over. There are some things that I do, and there's a specific reason that I do them, and that's nothing that I can change. But there are other things that are not the case, and I'd be happy to change them if that would work better. So here I'm just removing all of the masks. For the most part, the background is done. I am going to add some grasses just to give it some texture and things like going on in the background. So I'm going to use my yellow-green family for my copics. And then I'm just going to do very small little light flicks. I'm also going to fill in these leaves. I thought I was going to do those first, and then I ended up doing the grass first. As far as like the distress inking, some people have asked me before about putting copics over distress ink or distress oxide. I've never had any issues with it, and I do it all the time, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it can't cause issues with your markers. So like, these are your investment, make your own decision. I can just tell you from my experience, I do it and I haven't had any problems. But yeah, so if there's something that you would change or add, or hey, you do this and maybe could we do that? Or if there's types of videos that you would like to see, like, I'm open. Just let me know what your input is, because I always appreciate that. Around here, like, life-wise, like, we've just been pretty much doing projects, working. Peanut did go back to school, so we are now doing in-school or in-person schooling, so that has been interesting. He actually is really good about it. He doesn't complain about having to wear his mask. Kids are super resilient, so he's pretty much been a rock star about that. Yeah, like, just, life is kind of going back to normal-ish around here. Not completely, like, we still aren't going out. We still aren't, like, having get-togethers or, anything like that. We have our small little bubble with our immediate family, and, obviously we're still working, so with the people that we work with, which for me, I am on the same platoon with the same girls all the time, so I don't see, even though we have X amount of dispatchers employed, I don't see all of them. I only see the ones I work with, really. And then obviously we're gearing up for Halloween, because we're 2 days away, and our community is going to go ahead and do Halloween. Peanut has decided to be a skeleton this year, which was way easier for me to then come up with a matching costume, because I will also be a skeleton. If you remember last year, he wanted to be a mummy, and I had no idea what to be with him, and ended up going as Cleopatra. So mummy's a little bit less involved, which is awesome. So he picked a costume that's kind of head to toe, and it glows in the dark, which he thinks is just the cat's pajamas. And then I got one, and of course, like, because it's an adult woman's Halloween costume, It's a dress. It's a dress skeleton with like thigh high socks that go with it that have the bones on it, and my bones are glittered, which that part, I gotta tell you, I honestly don't mind. So of course I'm going to have to modify my costume because I'm not wearing that out trick-or-treating with my child. That's just not something I'm interested in doing. So I am going to wear black pants or like leggings underneath, and then just like a long black t-shirt. I don't have a mask. Peanut does, so I will just be painting my face. For school though, so like typically they have a Halloween party and then they put on their Halloween costumes just for the party. Oh, stand by, we gotta go back to the card. I just realized I did not show you the color combination that I'm using. I apologize. I switched to some more blue-based greens for these leaves that are up close, so they would just kind of stand out from the background. And this is a G03, G05, G17, and G28 or 29. I'm not sure. I'll look and I'll link it below. So they typically only wear their costumes for just the Halloween party portion in their classroom. This year they are allowed to wear their costumes, but they cannot change. They have to wear them all day long. I imagine it's because they're only allowed to have so many people in the bathroom at one time. So they're limiting, how many people who will be going in there by not allowing them to change. So I asked him if he wanted to wear his costume, even though he has to wear it all day. He said yes, he did want to wear it, which his is just like a one piece, like he gets into it kind of like a jumper situation and he wears clothes underneath it. So not really a huge deal for us, but he's not allowed to wear his Halloween mask. And you're not allowed to wear face paint. Why would you not be allowed to wear face paint? Right? Well, I think it's because their masks that they have to wear, like the COVID masks, I think they're worried about them just smearing paint all over their face. So, back to the card. Here, I colored it in. I wasn't really loving the lack of contrast behind this leaf. So I went in with my darker green marker and then just kind of outlined that and then blended in. So that way they did create some contrast between the grass and the leaf. Now, we're going to move on to the flower. I chose the E20 families because while they are, they're like a really good neutral brown. They're not too warm, but they're not too cool. They're just like a good in-between. And it works really well with the yellow, which you'll see when we go over the very center of it. I will be adding a little bit of yellow and then kind of like pushing it back with the E23 again, but it does make a huge difference, and I love doing the centers like that. So just going to add shading all around the outside edges so that the lightest part is in the center and the darkest part looks like it's inset in between the petals. So anyway, he's not allowed to wear face paint, which is normally what I would do because they can never wear a mask. That's a regular thing. They're never allowed to wear their Halloween masks, probably so they can identify the children would be my assumption. But usually I would just paint his face. Well, now I can't paint his face. So instead, I painted a mask. And I had no idea what I was doing, but we're out here on a wing and a prayer, just trying to be good parents and do what we can. So I had a white mask. That's actually an adult size mask because I could not find a white one in kids sizes that was like local. And I didn't really want to spend the money to buy one and have it shipped and everything else just to basically have him never wear it again because it's going to have a skull on it. So here's where I'm putting that yellow on, and then I'm just going to knock it back with the 23 to get rid of some of that brightness, and then move on to the petals, this is like my go-to yellow combination. You can make it lighter or darker based on how much of the shadow colors, that E99, or the highlight color, the Y02, how much you decide to leave. Here, these flowers were drawn by my girlfriend, Emily Midget, who is endlessly talented, and she's done a wonderful job giving you like the lines to show you where the shading should be. So as long as you follow her little guidelines here, you should be good to go as far as knowing where to put the shading. And then of course we have our same rules as always. Anything that is behind another object will have a shadow, and any point where two objects meet will have a shadow. Those things are always true. So I decided to paint this mask. It's an adult size mask. So first things first, I got to get the sizing right. I got to put it on his face, and then I got to tie off the little ear pieces so that it fits on his face appropriately. So we did that, and then I had to, like, I could just sit down and paint the mask, you know what I mean? But it's not necessarily going to line up with his face. So I had him put the mask on, and then I took a pencil, which I found that a regular, like, lead pencil, like a number 2 yellow pink eraser pencil, worked much better for this than the mechanical pencil I originally tried. I think it's just because the lead is softer. You know, when you're applying it, it's easier to get a softer line, where mechanical pencils are just very thin and very hard. So I had him put it on, and then I used the pencil to kind of draw out like where his nose would be, with the cheekbones, the fronts of his teeth. I didn't go with all the teeth, but I just needed to get that aligned up, and then where like the bottom of his jaw should be. So I did that all with pencil, and then I painted the rest with acrylic paint. And so I started, first of all, the paintbrush I was using was absolute trash, because we used it to paint a haunted house, which is a whole nother story, but was a really fun project. So he had used it on the haunted house and had not dried it off, like rinsed it out. So, but it was the only small flat-edged paintbrush that I could find. So I used the trash paintbrush. It was fine. And then I just used black acrylic paint and used as much or as little as I needed to. I did when I was doing the teeth, because I had to make it fit the mask. My, like, you have 32 teeth as an adult. My skeleton has, hold on, let me do math. 38. So he's got some extra teeth in there. It's fine. It's Halloween. He can have, you know, whatever, 6 extra teeth. It's going to be good. So I did that. I thought I was going to have to do some more shading. So I originally had got out my, like, black eyeshadow. Not that I wear black eyeshadow. I don't, unless it's Halloween. But I had some, like, that's part of my palette, like a neutrals palette. So I got that out originally thinking that I might be able to use it for shading, but I was actually able to do it all with the acrylic paint. It is not perfect by any means, but will it be enough to get this child through one day of school for Halloween? Yes, it will. And that's really all I need. And I don't think Peanut will be too judgy about my my painting skills. I think he's going to see it as a little skeleton mask, and he's going to be excited to wear it. So, things to note here. Now, when you do the distress ink in the background, obviously, when you're masking different areas, you're going to have a line of demarcation. I do try to go back in and blend those things out, but sometimes that's just not possible. Like with this leaf. Part of it is in the cloud, which is white, and part of it is in the sky, which is blue. So you already have a difference in color, which things are different colors in nature. So is this a huge deal? Not really. But if you have a very hard line, and sometimes that does happen, I'm going to teach you a way that you can kind of mix that up. So here I am doing the shading with the color combination that I used down below with these G's, which are more blue than the yellow greens. And you can tell the difference. Is it, do I think it's a huge deal? No, I think the leaf would probably be fine this way. But if you don't like it and you want them to be matchy-matchy, because sometimes we do, right? Here's a way you can change it. First things first, you can go over it with a yellow-green and then see, excuse me, sorry, and then see if that gives you enough yellow-green to match the rest of the area. If it does not, and you want it to be more yellow-green, then you can just take a bright yellow and go right over it, and it adds enough yellow to that blue that it pretty much matches spot on. Like the bottom of the leaf is a little bit lighter just because there isn't any blue there, but it just looks like a highlight. For the centers of my sunflowers, I went in with my white gel pen. I did little dots in the center, and then I did almost little like hash marks, little teeny tiny lines for the rest of them where the center of the sunflower seeds would be bigger. And I was super happy with the way that came out. I didn't add white highlights to anything else. That was pretty much the only detail work that I did, and this would not be on the flowers in the background because you're not close enough to see that. You are close enough to see it with the larger flowers. I'm gonna outline everything because that's what I do. I like me a bold black outline. And once I'm done with that, then I'm gonna move on to stamping the sentiment. So this is like a super fun kind of background, and you could put any kind of sentiment on here. If you have somebody who, like with their birthday, they love sunflowers, or thinking of you, or just really any sentiment would work on here. I decided to go with autumn blessings, so that way I could just keep it pretty neutral. If I wanted to send it as a thank you card, or if I wanted to send it as just about anything else, really, just like a little note. So I'm going to stamp this right in black, just right on top of it, and then I'm going to add some glitters. So that's what we're doing. We're skeletons for Halloween. I will for sure let you know how that's going to go. Obviously, it's been a while since I posted a video, so I have accumulated other stories that had nothing to do with the wedding, and I will try to remember those so that I can share them. Because sometimes, it just happens like that. Just a heads up, Honeybee did just have their Christmas, Christmas release that just went live, which is also amazing. And we'll be doing a little something coming up with that next week. So I will have another video, but I have a blog hop that I'm part of, so I'll be back before then. So this is the whole card. I hope that you learned a little bit of something. I appreciate you guys coming back and visiting me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.